Hello, and welcome to Unscheduled Flights, exploring the realms of inspiration, innovation, and creativity. I'm your host, Ambika Waters, and I welcome you to this podcast and hope you find it as interesting as I do.
Hi, everybody. It's Ambika Waters with Unscheduled Flights, exploring the realm of innovation, inspiration, and creativity. And today we're blessed to have Michael LEGER here with us, who is a very unusual man with a very unusual mission in terms of developing products for our time. Michael, welcome to Unscheduled Flights.
Thank you, Ambika. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm really honored to be here with you in this time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like to just start by telling us about your company, what you do, and how you developed it, how it came from a seed into this full blossom of amazing creative output?
Sure. So I started homeopathy journey when our daughter was born about 37, 38 years ago. We decided not to go down the vaccination route. My wife is a nurse, so I felt confident that she would be able to look at our daughter and know, wait a minute, no, we've got to do something here, or we can manage. So we started doing homeopathy then. My wife got very serious about it. She went to seminars with Andre Sane and Robin Murphy and all this. And this was this is late 80s. So these guys are relatively young, right, in their careers at the time. And they used to go to a Hamburger U, was where they held these seminars, which I always thought was kind of hilarious. But because this Hamburger U had this really nice facility, and it was inexpensive and fairly centrally located in Chicago. So she got really serious about it. I was doing other things at the time. I was going to school for what became a combination of computer science, computer music, computer math, and computer graphics, which was a reinterpretation of something called the quadrivium from classical education: logic, math, arithmetic, geometry, music. And then I went and finished a master's in music composition and came out of that, and I had invented a couple of musical instruments that I wanted to see if I could commercialize, which was not successful. But I learned a lot about sound and resonance, and that was the thing that was the big takeaway from my time at school. I was in software development for a little while, and I was going through quite a few ups and downs. This was the time of the dot-com boom and the dot-com bust, and the bust was very difficult. And I had a series of, I would be hired for short-term projects, and I was laid off, and then hired for a short-term project, then laid off. And a lot of these were very high-intensity projects. And after about 5 years of that, I just said to God, universe, et cetera, I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's killing me. I need something to open up, because this is really not working for me. After a lot of dark nights of the soul and prayer and anguish and gnashing of the teeth, I was working with a friend who was a database developer, and he said, hey, would you help me sell websites for my friend? I was like, no problem, I'm not doing anything else at the time, and I was a pretty good salesman. And I happened on this website of a guy in Madison, a manufacturer in Madison, who is making something he called it homeopathy, but it wasn't homeopathy. I'm like, wow, this is interesting. I didn't know anybody like this existed in this town that I was living in, Madison, Wisconsin. And I went over and looked at his website, and it was one of the worst websites I'd ever seen. And so I called him and I said, hey, look, I can double your sales in a year just by upgrading your website. We don't have to do anything fancier than just getting your website onto a modern platform. And he said, fine. He goes, and I'm going to hire you, because we started talking about homeopathy and realized that we had a nice connection there. He goes, I'm going to hire you, but 10% of your salary is going to be, you got to double whatever you make over what I'm making now. That's going to be most of your salary. And I like taking those kind of bets, so I did. And I did double it, but it took me 18 months, not 12. But in the meantime, I walked into this facility, and I'm expecting to see tinctures and mother tinctures and all this kind of stuff. And there wasn't any of those. I'm like, okay, why are you calling this homeopathy? And he goes, yeah, come over here and look at this. And he walked me over to what I now know as a Malcolm Ray radionics instrument. So maybe
Yeah,
your
the ray
people,
machine.
yes, the ray machine, exactly. First time I'd ever seen one. And he pulled out a card, and it happened to be arnica. And it's arnica with, so the card is this 3x5 card with 6 concentric circles on it and radii. And he said, that's arnica. I'm like, oh, come on. What do you mean that's arnica? That's a picture with some radians on it. He goes, nope, it's arnica. I'm like, okay, God, I want sure. So he goes, nope, shut up. You're going to have to do this. And arnica is a remedy I was very familiar with at the time. So he puts the slot card in the slot, pulls up, I think he made a 200C of arnica. I took the arnica. I'm like, wow, I can feel that. What the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
So
what a lesson. That's a big lesson.
Kablam. And I had this immediate sensation of door opening. Like,
Yeah.
prayer answered, here I go. So I just jump in with 2 feet. Like, okay, I'm in. I've got to find out what the heck is going on here, because there's some kind of magic here, right? There's something I've never seen before that is so deeply attractive that I have to find out more. So never look back from that. Got really into making a variety of remedies for, this guy's name is John Kane, and the company is called Celtec.
I know Celtic.
Celtec, yep. So it was Celtec. And then we were having a problem with an LM instrument. And I got a hold of the MGA people, Magnetogeometric Applications, which is the Malcolm Ray group. And I said, hey, I've got a problem with an LM, one of your LM instruments. How do I fix it? They said, you need to talk to this guy named Nick Franks. Nick Franks runs a website called radionics.co.uk. Nick Franks has been publishing in the British Radionics Journal for quite a while, and USPA Journal, and other places like that. So he's been involved in radionics since, I don't know, mid-90s, something like that. So I got a hold of Nick and I said, hey, Nick, we got this problem with this LM. How do I fix it? And then they said, okay, take it apart and you need to do this and this and this. They go, but in the meantime, why are you asking me these questions? And I was like, well, we do this commercially. And, blah, blah. And we hit it off. It was one of these conversations where it just flowed one thing right into the next. He goes, well, I've done quite a few things since I started working on Malcolm's instruments. He was fixing Malcolm's instruments for the MGA people. And I have some instruments that are quite an advancement on the Malcolm Ray stuff. I'm like, oh, great. So he sent me some of his cards. And actually, I think I got a card here somewhere. He sent me some of his cards. Let's see if I can do a share screen here. Sharing. Ooh, okay, I think you need to turn on share.
Okay.
Okay. And so he sent me a digital file of his card. And so this is the card.
Oh, beautiful. That's
beautiful. Work of art.
Work of art, indeed. Wow.
So this is the representation for one of the spigelias.
I love spigelia. Are those the colors of spigelia?
So it's a representation of it in a way. So how do I describe this? The best way to describe this is a 2-dimensional key to a 3-dimensional field. And what you see when you look at this is there's many, many, many layers here. There's particular colors and particular shapes and very particular positions. And then if you look in the background, you can see alphanumeric characters. Mm-hmm. So this is a flattened representation of something that might have 2,000 or 3,000 layers to it. The digital file for these things can run up to 1 gigabyte in size. So for reference, Kindle might be 300 kilobytes in size. So a full Kindle book, 300 kilobytes. One of these guys can run as high as 1 gigabyte in terms of data representation.
For one remedy.
For one remedy, yep. So that's why this thing acts like a key to the field for spigelia.
How do they create it?
Yeah, so
created.
Yes, so Nick, heavy dowsing, and then Nick informed me of this group that he's working with that I call the architects. I don't think that's a term that he used, but it's a group of non-physical beings that are together to help advance. It really is homeopathy, but in the United States, homeopathy is only HPUS, but to advance this process of making subtle energy products to help solve problems that we're all facing. So he connects up with the architects, and then he just says, okay, I'd like to download for spigelia. And they start giving him, it needs to be this color and this shape and this place, and boom, 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 boom. And he just keeps going. The process can go for days and weeks before he gets the full download. So this goes into, I think it's a 1 meter square by 1 meter square original, and then gets shrunk down into this thing that we see here.
It's very impressive. It's very beautiful, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Very
I think there's many of these. So he sent me this. I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at the Ray cards and I'm looking at this like, okay, so we're in a completely different universe here.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can, I asked him, sorry, go ahead.
We are in a different universe, and spigelia is one of the most remarkable remedies in homeopathy, I think. Can cure pain. For tooth pain alone, it deserves 5 stars.
Aha.
It's
I
a
didn't know
heart
that.
remedy. The other thing is it's a wonderful heart remedy. I love spigelia, and I've loved it for a long time from having had a toothache many years ago. And I came upon it and I thought, what an incredible remedy to be able to alleviate that kind of really intense nerve pain. So this is beautiful. What you're showing me is beautiful. What do the colors represent, and what do the numbers and letters represent? Do they have specific function in this process, or is it just the whole thing together is the whole pie, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter. As far as I know, there's no specific color. The blue color means something particular, i.e. potency or some chemistry related thing or some plant related thing in this particular case. It's all symbols that are trying to bring in from the other side, from the etheric realm into the physical world in a way that creates a resonance between here and there.
Wow.
So that's about as close as I can get to answering your question.
So what do you do with this? Do you use the Ray machine to make your remedies?
Right. So Nick says, so I've also made instruments that are an advancement from Malcolm Ray. So if the people are familiar with Malcolm Ray's Ray machines, Ray instruments, used a donut magnet in the back that kind of amplified the graphic picture that he had. Nick said, I can do away completely with electricity and magnetism, no electromagnetics at all necessary in this new instrument that he built, which also really intrigued me. So I bought a couple of used instruments. There was a woman in the United States that wanted to, she wasn't using them anymore. She wanted to get rid of them, so I got a nice price on it. And I was able to test them, and they tested out so much stronger than the Malcolm Ray instruments and cards that I was using. So this Nick's, what he calls an alpha numeric transducer, looks very similar to the Ray machines. So this is a card, 3x5, drops into a slot, just like the Malcolm instruments. You set the potency, you put a tincture into the well, and you set it for a period of time, and then pick up your tincture, and it's ready to be made into something. So what we do here is we take that tincture. I'm sorry, I'm going to jump ahead in time. We take the tincture and we put it into a conical flask, and we potentize via anthroposophical potentization methods, which is vortexing rather than succussing. So now we'll go back. We'll probably come back to this. So I made several different remedies with Nick's cards and Nick's instruments, and I was completely convinced that this is the future for me. So I talked to John, and John, after 6 months said, shut up, I don't want to hear anymore. We're not going to do this. And like, okay, bing, door opens again, right? That distinct sensation, door opening again. It's like, fine. John made his point clear. I had my future was clear, and I went off and formed my own company. At the time, it was called Homeodynamics. So that's how I got to here. Is that should we go more into this, or is that sufficient to answer your question?
Well, I've just I've been playing with your remedies, and I'm really impressed. I need to say that I love that you do the spray, and I love that you do pellets. I love the way your remedies are very subtle and that they don't have aggravation. That's what I really love about them. They
Thank you.
work and in such a subtle way that the whole economy does not get shocked. You know, I've been playing with remedies for over 35 years. I love homeopathy. I love it. But I don't like the kickback. I don't like aggravations. Never have,
Yeah.
never will, never
Yeah.
like reading aggravations. But your remedies go deep and they are very subtle. They work in I don't know the word, biodynamic comes to mind. Biodynamic resonance that just repeats and repeats and repeats, and you get better, you get more energy, you get more clarity, you get more functionality. I've been doing your remedies now for about 10 days and I love them.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Love them. I love them because they are not unlike my subtle remedies, you know, my angelic remedies, my holy water remedies, the solfeggio remedies, the sound and color. But I want to say there's a mystery about your remedies because they are homeopathic, but they're way more subtle. I don't know what I'm saying. Sometimes the homeopathic remedies made from substance can have a real kickback. I've seen aggravations of Natmir that have lasted almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah, with clients. Boy, that's work.
That's rough.
It's rough on them. It's rough on the practitioner. It's rough on the family. I think people get what they need. I mean, I do believe you get what you need. And if you have to detox for that long, that's part of your process. And you just go with it because you have no choice. But the choice does come in when you choose to prescribe. When you choose to prescribe and you know that Natmir could really kick this person's butt from here to kingdom come and back, you have to warn them. You have to tell them this is more than possible, but the outcome will be very good. But your remedies don't have that invasive quality. They don't. This is my experience. I mean, I don't know. I've given them to my husband too, and he really likes them. And when a remedy doesn't work for him, he's the first to tell you.
Yeah, my wife is the same. I had to do tuning. She's like, no, it's not working. I'm like, oh,
yeah. So he's done very well on your remedies. And then in meditation a few days ago, there were a few remedies I hadn't taken. The remedies you made from Amazonite and is it ametrine?
Ametrine.
Ametrine. Yep. I hadn't taken them. And this little voice said, you want to try the stone remedies now? Okay. So I did. And boy, they held and they were strong, very strong. And I don't mean strong in the sense of aggravation, just enhancing the life force in a very refined and very subtle expansion. One of the things that I've been saying and writing for years is we need to expand our capacity to receive love and blessing. Whether you do it through remedies or prayer or meditation, that's what we're here to do, to expand our capacity to receive joy and goodness. And these remedies, they hold that intention, whether they hold it because that's my intention or that's the higher intention, which I think is the divine saying, these remedies can help you expand your capacity for goodness. So I don't need to know all the subtleties about how you make them. I just am overjoyed that I found you and that,
Thank you.
and that you stayed in the game for as long as you have, because it can be very rough out there when 9/10 of the world doesn't grasp your knowledge. And we've seen a lot of people for a long time fall through the cracks because they were ahead of their time. I think of Wilhelm Reich, and he was so ahead of his time. I mean,
Yeah.
Died in prison. I mean,
Yeah.
Dinesh Gadiali, who was who did color healing. I don't know if you know his work.
No.
Dinesh Gadiali came from India. He was very adept with color, and he had a machine which is now called the Syntonics phototherapy machine, which it's binocular, and you look through this long funnel at color. That 1/3 of the blood passes through the optic nerve every hour. So it's a form of color healing that he developed. They wound up, the government invaded his laboratory and destroyed his machines. And he had a son who's still alive, I believe. He was also called Dinesh Gadiali. I've seen photographs of burns, first-degree burns that were treated with the color blue, and I think blue and red in sequence. Within 15 minutes, the burn had disappeared. I mean, he had an incredible thing. Some of these men, they were working in the 1920s and 30s. There are many people who really were tuned in who fell through the cracks from lack of support, lack of any belief in what they were doing. You have come upon the scene at the right time, in the right place with the right products. And it's time people started paying attention to what you're doing, because it's a step up. I don't know how to put that any other way. It's a step up in refinement. It's not to say homeopathy doesn't work. It works. We know it works. But as we become more refined, we need a medicine that's compatible with our higher consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was going to ask if you want to talk about some of your products, your line of products, because they are fascinating.
Yes. There's something I'd like to fill in a little bit about how we get to this place, because your feedback is exactly what I was hoping for from you, but also that the work that I've been doing to bring these subtle beings into this world, and we call them remedies, but I prefer to call them subtle beings because they're a life force that's quite alive and quite responsive, right? To bring them here fully embodied, but also completely embraced by the cosmos and by the earth. And I put together an instrument that's based on work that Michelle Small-Wright did, Pearlander Gardens.
Yeah, I know her.
She has she has something called a Genisa crystal. I've got one of these here.
Oh yeah.
Genisa crystal. So she's got a Genisa crystal in her garden, and she described she puts her products inside of this crystal with a quartz crystal, and then she had some certain types of stone underneath, as being a really good way of improving the quality of her products. So I looked at that. I'm like, okay, I think I can do this, something similar to that. And I got a hold of the person that made her Genisa crystal. So we have a 3-foot Genisa crystal, which is in my backyard. And then I constructed boy, so I constructed something called the celestial, which is a combination word of celestial and terrestrial. So there's a Genisa crystal. There's a shelf that sits at the belly of the Genisa that I put the products in. There are several different types of quartz crystals, and there's a slim Sperling harmonizer. And do you know, have you heard of slim Sperling? If you don't
Yes.
know,
Oh,
yes,
yes. Oh, yes. I've seen his jewelry. One of
yes.
my
Okay.
clients had a lot of his jewelry, which was quite unique because they got the resonance through the jewelry.
Mhm.
Yes, and this client became very good friends with his wife.
Who's continuing his work.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. So quartz crystals, a slim Sperling harmonizer in the column, in the core of this thing that I call the celestial. And then it's framed by a copper pyramid and about 500 pounds of granite, limestone, and quartzite. And actually, there's going to be another 500 pounds. I'll hit a half a ton. But it's a resonator. It's a really, really strong and beautiful resonator. So I put our mothers in the celestial, and it does this thing of I wanted to get this root quality and a gentleness that the earth can give us.
Yes, and that's in your remedies. That gentleness is part of what makes your remedies so, I could say many words: delightful, seductive, delicious. It's the gentleness. It's the gentleness. This is not going to take me down for a day or two. It's not going to make eruptions. It's not going to give me diarrhea. It's not going to,
Mm.
it's not a detoxer. That's many years ago. One of the really great homeopaths I've met said to me, homeopathy is nothing but a detoxification process,
Hmm.
whether it's physical, emotional, or mental detox.
Right.
It goes deep. And I've thought about that, and I've come to the agreement that homeopathy as we know it, it is a detoxer. Your remedies are not about detoxification. They're about enhancement. At some level, that's how I experience it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very gentle, very receptive, almost embracing capacity to not get rid of toxin, but to create a life force that's so strong, the toxins vanish on their own. I'm working with one of your nerve remedies and one called Restore. And I said before to you, I've been struggling for over 5 years when I got some form of COVID that took me down and paralyzed me. And I've had a lot of work done, osteopaths, good acupuncture, and endless homeopathy, endless good homeopathy. And I'm not paralyzed anymore, and I'm not waddling like a duck anymore. But I still feel that place in my hip abductor where that virus is still lodged. And when I took your remedies, suddenly I'm walking better. I have more strength in my lower limbs, and I'm not skipping, but I'm not far from it. And it's like, wow, there was no detoxification involved. There was building as a part to tearing down and letting the vital force rebuild itself. There's this almost natural rebuilding. I'm pulling words out of the ethers because it's hard to describe, but I know it works. 10 days is nothing in the process of healing. It's the beginning, and I'm very excited about these remedies. I ordered no jet lag for our long trip to Bali in August. And for some reason, they said it was delivered, and I've never found the remedy on my porch. It's gone. And I thought, hey, I've got jet lag from Michael. So we're going to use your jet lag, and I'll be the first to tell you how it works because we've got a 20-hour flight in front of us.
Long trip.
Long trip. So I'm really tickled that we've got that. And just delight. I don't know if I'm explaining my experience clearly enough for people, but the refinement process is, it's elegant. It's elegant. And it's, yeah, I don't know another word. I know I have the Perlandria remedies, but she never potentized. She wasn't
Mhm.
interested in homeopathy. She,
Yeah.
which is interesting. She never potentized, and I always wondered about that. Her
Mhm.
story is incredibly compelling. I've read her books, I've got her notebooks. You know, she's a wonder. She herself is,
Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Absolutely.
but I like what you put together, the best of what's out there for some very reclusive people, I might add. She is incredibly reclusive.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Journaling also, I mean, some of the, where you've taken things from, my hat goes off to you, Michael. I like what you're doing. I love what you're doing, and I love these remedies. So let's hear about the remedies. Oh, the other one I tried that I really like is chakra balancing, because that's my thing.
Right. Okay.
That's my meditation. That's what I teach. That my remedies are all chakra um,
Hmm.
organized. So I gave it to my husband, and I took it. And again, very subtle, a lot, very subtle, everything aligned.
So that's probably a good one to start with. But first, your description is artistic. It's I don't know how better we're saying that, but yeah, yeah, your feedback really is blowing me away.
I'm delighted,
Really,
because it's a
just
hard
blowing
thing
me
to
away.
explain. It's hard
Yep.
to explain homeopathy.
Yep.
But years ago, I'm trying to think, it was Franz Vermeulen came to visit here in Tucson and teach my students. And he was the one who said, basically, homeopathy is a detoxification process.
Uh,
It's not to say you don't need detox, because
yep.
there are a lot of really toxic folks out there
Yep.
with deep suppression. Vaccination alone is a detox process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that, to me, homeopathically, is a wonderful detox process that we offer. And one of my colleagues who was forced to take the vax
Mm.
in order to keep her job, her day job, sat with for 3 days, very, very sensitive woman. And she realized that her pineal gland was being impacted, that her pituitary was being impacted, and she created a 3-day process of detoxification for the vax, which is positively brilliant, 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 but it's still detox. And detox is, it'll affect so much of your function for a few days. Your
Right.
remedies don't kick back. There's no kickback. There's there's no rash, you know.
Mm.
What's the matter? Oh, I just took a remedy. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. Hmm. Yep.
there's a subtlety and an elegance and a refinement. It's the next step up. That's what it is. I'm pretty sure it would work on many, many people. I don't think you have to be a farmer and earthbound to just use homeopathy. I think your remedies probably have a real effect on very earthy people. You don't need to be in the stars to have your remedies work. Because my
Yep.
husband is very grounded. He's basically an Italian peasant from the land. His
Mhm. Yeah.
people were all farm. He's solid, and he may not get the subtleties, but he gets the results.
Right.
Oh,
Mm.
look, this is
Hmm.
working. So I encourage people to get in touch with you, look at your very beautiful website, and start trying these products, because I think you'll be delighted. I think we've crossed through the portals, astrologically speaking, that have opened us to this moment. And it's full moon in Capricorn tonight.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot has,
Mm.
in the past 3-4 months, we've come through portal after portal after portal. And we're in a new place. We're in a
Right.
new place. And some people have had a lot of hardship during this time. And I'm hoping for them that that they are able to find balance and peace. But it's a new time, and it's time for new energies, new remedies. And that's what we're doing too with in the illumination remedy class.
Mhm.
We've created
Mhm.
remedies too. So let's more
Yeah.
your work.
So, okay. On this idea of, so one of my intentions when I started doing this was to go beyond pathology.
Good.
And the
Yes.
COVID event created this very distinct marker that I think we're going to see when we look back in history. That's going to be the same marker as the atomic bomb was and the introduction of electricity. What worked before is either going to have a hard time working, or you have to come up with a different answer or something completely different to work for the future, right? So that was celestial, that was the anthroposophical potentization processes. So, because my intention was to come from underneath and uproot all this
Oh,
disharmony, right? All these non-resonances, like, okay, you're here, but I'm here, right? I'm
that's
at the root. Uproot, you don't go, you don't belong here anymore, and just,
what your remedies do. That's
great.
what I call the build. They build. They don't
Mhm.
destroy. They don't take down. So that was your intention.
Yep, absolutely intentions. Like, I want to go beyond pathology, and I want to go underneath pathology, so we don't have to keep playing whack-a-mole, because that's the big problem up here, is right. Okay, we got it here with this remedy. Now we got this one. Now we got and it's a process, and that's great, but there might be a better way, right? So for me, I want to go as deeply into this root as I can, feed the root of the person that's ingesting the remedy, so that then their root is stronger, they have a better connection, and then you just blow off this because you're stronger and the
Yes, you're
resonance is stronger,
stronger.
right? Yeah.
And that's thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, because that's what I experienced with the remedies.
Great. And
Interesting.
particularly those crystals, so the crystal remedies, that's the biggest breakthrough. The most recent breakthrough is the crystal remedies. A chunk of them, which I learned about conceptually from a guy named Robert Gilbert of the Vesica Institute. He just passed. He did, so Vesica Institute is a biogeometry associated organization, probably the biggest one in the United States. But he put together a crystal course that is a distillation of Taoist stone medicine from Jeffrey Ewan, I think is if you don't know him, Jeffrey Ewan, look him up. Beautiful man. I think he's an 88th lineage Taoist master. So, a lot of tradition there. But when, we're definitely gonna have to cover more ground. So this would be more than one, but I'll do it as quick as I can on this particular part. We can blow it up later. When traditional Chinese medicine was created, they cut out a lot of the materia medica that existed before to simplify it and also kind of westernize it. Part of a big chunk of the materia medica that was cut out was a crystal materia medica that had existed for hundreds, maybe thousands of years in the classical Chinese medicine system. Jeffrey Yuan is bringing all of that tradition up, and he's particularly bringing it to the West. And there's some incredibly beautiful work there. Highly recommended as a source of, as a really well-grounded source of information about crystals and what they can do. So Robert Gilbert takes he takes Marcel Vogel's work and some other people's work, and he synthesizes them in a way that there's a wonderful presentation. But he describes some crystals, ametrine is one of the ones that you've got, that have these particular qualities. And in this method that we're using, we call it enhancing. And you can look on our website. I've got an article that describes exactly what's involved in that. But we can enhance these crystals, celestialize them, and then they can do this thing of create stronger structure. And I mean structure on all dimensions, not just the body, all dimensions, right? And then by strengthening the structure, energy can flow this way, and you can hold the energy that's coming this way, right? Because that's the big problem. When it comes from the cosmos, you can get it here, but it's going to tend to take you this way, right?
That's
So
right.
here, bring it down and root it, right?
And ground it.
Yep.
That's
So, yep.
Wow. I experienced that as strength when I took the remedy, strength and endurance. I had to do something where I was out. It was like 110 degrees outside. I mean, just getting in and out of your car is a form of torture. And I had to be out for several hours. And I had taken the remedy early in the morning, and I was fine. I was fine all day. And I didn't come home and need to take a cold shower, take a nap. I was fine. It's like, wow, I actually sat down and did some work. It was like,
Mm.
what is this?
Mhm.
Fascinating. Michael, I think we're going to have to bring you back and talk some more specifically about your remedies. But I would
Be happy
encourage
to.
anybody who's watching this podcast, please pass it along to your friends in your network. And by all means, get in touch with Michael and see his beautiful website. This is something, if you love energy medicine, this is important work that's been done, and that you continue to develop new ideas and new remedies. I congratulate you, Michael. I'm just tickled that we've met, um, and I look forward to more of less, how to put it. Thank you for being on the show, and we'll have you back in the fall and talk more very specifically if you want to show your remedies.
Yes, I'd be happy. Yes.
I think that would be great to do.
Okay.
I'm going to say goodbye and thank you very much for participating.
Absolutely my pleasure,
Thank
Ambika.
you.
Really. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our guests today who've shared their experience, who have enhanced my life by developing skill sets and a vision of the world that is really expanded and I think beautiful. So thank you until the next podcast of Unscheduled Flights. Again, I'm your host, Ambika Waters, wishing you all the best.